The 1974-1975 Washington Capitals hit the ice like a newborn deer on a frozen lake, with one road win all year and goals flying past their goalies like batting practice. It was survival, not strategy. So what do you do when the league laughs and the standings crush you? You get stubborn. You draft better. You wear the bruises until they harden into standards. That year taught Washington the one lesson every hopeless team needs. Rock bottom is only permanent if you pretend it isn't. 10 wins, 0 on the road. Tell me your building wouldn't start groaning before warm-ups. The 1992-1993 Ottawa Senators walked into a grown man's league with kid gear and paid for it nightly. Their goalie faced 40-plus shots like it was overtime every game. Opponents circled sends on the calendar as a free 2 points and then padded their stats for dessert. But here's the hook that matters. Pain plants patience. Ottawa learned to draft, learned to develop, and learned to ignore the scoreboard long enough to build a spine. When the losses finally stopped, the foundation was real. No shortcuts, no smoke. 71 losses isn't a season, it's a fire drill. The 1992-1993 San Jose Sharks turned the Cow Palace into a shooting gallery and somehow kept selling tickets. 17 straight L's at one point, over 400 goals against, and a penalty kill that felt like a suggestion. And yet, out of that wreckage came identity. The fans didn't wilt. The front office figured out how to scout, and the punchline grew teeth. You could laugh at the rookie year photos later. You couldn't deny the franchise found its voice because the city refused to shut up. Get called a Mickey Mouse organization on TV and see how your pride reacts. The 1983-1984 New Jersey Devils were bleeding goals, taking chirps from everywhere, and looking in the mirror long enough to feel it. That insult did something useful. It snapped them awake. The Devils built an edge, drafted a backbone, and found the kind of goaltending that turns games into chess. They went from funny to ruthless. That's the hidden gear bad seasons can unlock. Not anger, but standards. Once those are set, the league stops laughing. Big names, no bite when Broadway goes quiet, something's broken. The 1992-1993 New York Rangers had Messier, Graves, Richter, and none of the urgency. They missed the playoffs, fired the coach, and watched Madison Square Garden turn from electric to acidic. Humiliation, though, can be rocket fuel. They cleaned the room, sharpened the system, and the next year the cup drought died at 54. That's the bounce-back playbook. When the lights go cold in the biggest building, you don't beg, you reboot and take the city with you. The loudest sound in Chicago wasn't the horn, it was empty seats. In 2003-2004, the Blackhawks looked irrelevant, which is worse than lousy. A rookie led them in points because who else would? 5 goalies rotated like a raffle, and the United Center felt like a library. Then the lockout reset the cap, the lottery smiled, and the front office finally traded some drafts. A dead brand found a pulse. Sometimes the game throws you a reset button. The trick is having a plan ready when you smash it. Last in the league with stars on the marquee, that's a mess with upside. The 2007-2008 Tampa Bay Lightning had firepower up front and holes everywhere else. Ownership noise, bench drama, and a crease that looked like target practice left them on the bottom rung. The upside was simple and loud. First overall, draft the laser beam, build around him, and stop pretending talent can outrun structure. They didn't just climb, they learned how to stay up there. One ugly year paid for a decade of receipts. When a waiver claim leads your team in points, you stop pretending. Toronto's 2015-2016 was losing with a thesis statement. The goalie forgot how to win for months, the lineup was intentionally thin, and the fan base was asked to sit through the bruising on purpose. The payoff? Ping pong balls bounced, a franchise center walked in, and a sleeping giant got a caffeine drip. Tanking isn't romantic, but done with honesty, it's a rebuild you can explain to a city without flinching. Lose with intent, win with Lemieux. The 1983-1984 Pittsburgh Penguins didn't trip, they dove. The roster looked like a call-up convention. The arena echoed, and everybody knew what the prize was. Then Mario arrived and turned the lights on. Attendance rose, standards rose, and banners rose. Strategic failure sounds like spin until the generational player puts on your sweater and makes the whole thing look inevitable. That's not luck, that's guts paired with timing. 48 points is the cap era basement, and the 2016-2017 Colorado Avalanche crashed right through the floor. The star hadn't detonated yet. The defense forgot what gap control meant, and the bench felt like it was waiting for a trade that never ended. And then, bang. The next season, they were fast, loud, and in the playoffs. That's what happens when a room gets honest about who drives the bus, dumps the noise, and lets its best players be its best players. Rock bottom with a trampoline is still rock bottom, but the springback is violent if you trust your speed. From 25 straight playoff appearances to nightly leak fests, gravity always wins. Detroit's 2019-2020 wasn't a stumble. It was a dynasty's lights going out. The goal differential hit modern-era worst territory. The names in the rafters felt like ghosts, and every mistake ended in a red light. That's how eras end. Not with a whisper, but with a thud. The only way forward was the slow way. Draft with discipline, develop like your life depends on it, and wait until the next core grows calluses. Nostalgia can't backcheck. Patience can. 5 goalies, no answers. Apathy is the loudest L. Calgary's 1997-1998 had Thurin Fleury straining to drag a thin blue line uphill, while the Saddledome stopped even booing. That's the dead zone. Not anger, but shrugs. When your crowd goes quiet, your identity is drifting, and a draft pick won't fix that alone. You need pride back in the room, help on the back end, and a front office that stops spinning the tires. If Washington taught us the floor, Calgary taught us the silence underneath it. And since every arc needs a different angle, here's one more for the modern reality check. Expansion hype isn't a free pass. Seattle's 2021-2022 got sold as Vegas 2.0 and played like Expansion 1.0. The finishing wasn't there, the crease wobbled, and honest fourth liners were asked to carry pianos. The building rocked, the on-ice product whispered. Still, the blueprint is the same one. Washington, Ottawa, and San Jose used. Take the pain, add finishers, lock, focus on the net, and allow the crowd to take over from there. The league doesn't wait. Either you learn fast or you get left. Even the sports cathedral has a basement, and Montreal visited it long before the glory. A tiny league, a tiny leaderboard, and a last-place team that forced a proud organization to reinvent itself. If a giant can admit it's broken, fix the wiring, and come back breathing fire, that tells you something about standards. Boston wore the dunce cap right before it became terrifying. Dead last in a 6-team league, defense dripping, offense toothless. Then a teenage comet hit the roster, and the entire vibe changed. Sometimes, all a city needs is a rookie to remind them what urgency looks like. The farewell tour to losing ended on schedule. Long Island's collapse at the turn of the millennium was a franchise identity crisis. A fired coach early, unready goalie prospects, thin scoring, and a building full of fans wearing paper bags. That's the sound of trust evaporating. The fix wasn't a tweak. It was a purge of bad contracts, smart drafting in, and patience enforced. There's no shortcut from apathy to pride. St. Louis hit a full reset in the mid-2000s. Long playoff streak gone. Leaders traded. Netminders shell-shocked. 11 straight losses felt like the fire alarm. But the teardown wasn't surrender. It was a decision.